Once upon a time in the busy city of Washington, D.C., a plan was quietly taking shape in the heart of the government. President Donald Trump had always been known for his bold ideas, and this time was no different. He wanted to deport all the undocumented immigrants, whom he referred to as aliens, under what he called a Secret War Act. This plan caused a lot of debate and concern among citizens, activists, and even some politicians. Many people thought it was unfair, while others supported it wholeheartedly. In the middle of this chaos stood Judge Clara Thompson, a wise and thoughtful woman who had served on the bench for many years. Judge Thompson was known for her fairness and her ability to see both sides of an argument. She had earned the respect of many, but now she found herself at the center of a national storm. One sunny morning, news broke that Judge Thompson would be hearing the case about Trump's plan. The courtroom was packed with reporters, lawyers, and even some anxious families. Everyone wanted to know what the judge would decide. Emily Ramos, a young immigrant mother, sat in the front row, holding her little son, Marco. Emily had come to the United States seeking a better life for her child, and she was worried about what could happen if the plan went through. As Judge Thompson entered the courtroom, silence fell over the crowd. She took her seat and adjusted her glasses, ready to hear the arguments. The government's lawyer, a stern-looking man named M.R. Grant, stood up first. He spoke with conviction, explaining why they believed the Secret War Act was necessary for national security. He painted a picture of danger, claiming that undocumented immigrants posed a threat to the country. But when it was time for the opposing lawyer, M.S. Rodriguez, to speak, the atmosphere shifted. M.S. Rodriguez was passionate and hopeful as she began her argument. She shared stories of families who had worked hard and contributed to their communities. She talked about Emily and Marco, detailing how they were just trying to build a better life. The courtroom listened intently, and it was clear that many were moved by her words. As the hearing continued, Judge Thompson began to ask tough questions. She wanted to know the evidence behind the claims of danger. M.R. Grant struggled to answer, fumbling over his words, while M.S. Rodriguez stood tall, confident in her responses. Judge Thompson noted the difference, and her expression turned serious. After hours of intense debate, the courtroom adjourned for the day, leaving everyone on edge. Emily left the courthouse, feeling both anxious and hopeful. She clutched Marco's hand tightly as they walked home, wondering what the next day would bring. The following day, the courtroom was packed again. Judge Thompson was about to make her decision. Reporters hurried to take their seats, and the air was thick with anticipation. As Judge Thompson began to speak, her voice rang clear and strong. "I have heard many arguments from both sides," she said. "I want to remind everyone that this country was built on the hopes and dreams of immigrants. We cannot forget the humanity behind the policies we create." Judge Thompson then explained her concerns about the plan. She cited the lack of clear evidence showing that deporting individuals would genuinely enhance national security. Instead, she highlighted the importance of families and communities, emphasizing that fear should not guide their decisions. With her heart racing, Emily listened closely. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. Judge Thompson went on to declare, "I hereby shut down this plan under the Secret War Act. It is not only unjust, but it is also not supported by credible evidence." The courtroom erupted in cheers. Emily's eyes filled with tears of relief and joy. She hugged Marco tightly, and they both smiled at each other, understanding how much this meant to their future. As the excitement filled the room, M.R. Grant looked defeated. He gathered his papers and left without saying a word. On the other hand, M.S. Rodriguez celebrated with her team, knowing they had made a difference that day. News of Judge Thompson's ruling spread like wildfire. Headlines praised her courage and compassion, and people across the nation began to discuss the importance of fairness and equality. Emily felt a wave of hope wash over her. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but for now, she could breathe a little easier. In the weeks that followed, the court's decision sparked new discussions about immigration policies in the country. Various community leaders, including Ms. Rodriguez, began holding town hall meetings to educate people about immigrants' rights. They shared stories of hope and resilience, showcasing families just like Emily's. Emily began to attend these meetings, finding strength in the stories of others. She met many people who had faced similar fears and struggles. Together, they created a support network, sharing resources and helping each other navigate their lives in a new land. Meanwhile, Judge Thompson continued her work, listening to cases and making decisions that impacted the lives of many. Her ruling against the deportation plan was just one example of her commitment to justice. She often reminded herself of the faces she had seen in the courtroom and the love that connected them all. One day, while walking through a local park, Emily spotted Judge Thompson sitting on a bench, reading a book. Gathering her courage, she approached the judge. "Excuse me, Your Honor," she began nervously. "I just wanted to thank you for what you did. You gave me hope." Judge Thompson looked up, her eyes softening. "It was your courage that inspired me, Emily. Your story matters, and you deserve to have a life filled with opportunities." With that simple exchange, two strong women connected across the divide of the judicial system and personal experience. The spirit of community that had blossomed after the court ruling continued to grow, reminding everyone that together they could stand against fear and fight for a brighter future. And so, life continued in Washington, D.C. The case had sparked a movement, one where voices were heard and dreams could flourish. Judge Thompson's decision had shut down a dark plan, but it also opened doors to hope, understanding, and a spirit of togetherness among families like Emily's. The air in the courtroom crackled. Judge Evelyn Reed, a woman known for her unwavering fairness, sat poised, her gaze fixed on the defendant, Donald Trump, former President of the United States. He stood stiffly, his usual bluster muted by the gravity of the situation. Beside him, his lawyer, the renowned but aging Silas Finch, nervously adjusted his glasses. The case centered on Operation Silent Sweep, a clandestine plan initiated during Trump's presidency. The plan aimed to deport millions of undocumented immigrants, utilizing a rarely invoked section of the War Powers Act, claiming they posed a national security threat. The leaked documents detailing Operation Silent Sweep had ignited a firestorm of controversy. Human rights organizations cried foul, calling it a blatant violation of constitutional rights and international law. Across the aisle sat Maria Hernandez, a young, determined lawyer representing the plaintiffs, a coalition of immigrant rights groups and affected individuals. Her face, etched with concern and determination, reflected the weight of responsibility she carried. Behind her sat a diverse group of plaintiffs, their faces a tapestry of anxieties and hopes. Among them was Carlos Rodriguez, a young undocumented immigrant who had fled violence in his homeland, hoping for a better life. He clutched a worn photograph of his family, his eyes brimming with unspoken fear. The prosecution, led by the sharp and relentless Amelia Carter, presented a compelling case. She meticulously dissected the classified documents, revealing the plan's chilling details. She pointed out the lack of due process, the potential for widespread human rights abuses, and the blatant disregard for established legal procedures. She painted a vivid picture of families torn apart, lives shattered, and a nation sliding toward authoritarianism. Silas Finch, in his defense, argued that the plan was justified, citing national security concerns. He painted a bleak picture of increased crime and terrorism, linking it to undocumented immigration. He claimed that Operation Silent Sweep was a necessary measure to protect the nation. However, his arguments lacked substance, his voice strained, his usual confidence eroded by the weight of the evidence against him. Trump, throughout the proceedings, remained mostly silent, occasionally muttering to his lawyer. Judge Reed listened intently, her expression unchanging. Days turned into weeks as the trial unfolded. Witness testimonies, expert opinions, and legal arguments flooded the courtroom. The prosecution presented evidence of systematic abuses, including the detention of children separated from their parents, the lack of adequate legal representation, and the deportation of individuals who had lived in the country for decades. Carlos Rodriguez took the stand, his voice trembling at first, but steadily gaining strength as he recounted his harrowing escape from violence and his hopes for a new life. His testimony was a powerful indictment of the plan's inhumane nature. His story resonated with the jury and even seemed to touch the hardened heart of Judge Reed. Amelia Carter, in her closing argument, powerfully summarized the case. She spoke not just of legal violations but of the profound human cost of Operation Silent Sweep. She reminded the court of the American ideals of justice and equality, ideals that were threatened by such a plan. Silas Finch, in his closing statement, attempted to salvage the situation, but his words rang hollow against the mountain of evidence presented by the prosecution. He stumbled, his arguments weak and unconvincing. The weight of the evidence, the humanity of the witnesses, and the undeniable illegality of the plan were too much to overcome. Finally, after a week of deliberation, Judge Reed delivered her verdict. The courtroom fell silent, every eye fixed on her. Her voice, though calm, resonated with authority. She declared Operation Silent Sweep unconstitutional, a gross violation of human rights, and a blatant disregard for the rule of law. She issued a permanent injunction against its implementation. The verdict sent ripples of relief and joy through the courtroom. Maria Hernandez and her clients exchanged relieved smiles. Carlos Rodriguez's shoulders slumped in relief, the weight of fear lifting from his chest. The scene was a testament to the power of justice and the enduring spirit of those who fight for their rights. Outside the courthouse, the news spread like wildfire. Protests erupted in support of the verdict, highlighting the importance of due process and the fight for immigrant rights. Trump, his face grim, left the courthouse without making any statement. The case served as a potent reminder that even the most powerful individuals are not above the law. The verdict was more than just a legal decision, it was a powerful statement on the fundamental principles of justice and equality. Operation Silent Sweep was dead, its ill-conceived ambitions buried under the weight of its own inhumanity and the unwavering pursuit of justice. The victory, however, was just a beginning, a stepping stone in the ongoing fight for the rights and dignity of all people.